They laughed when she walked in. Not loud, just sharp enough to slice skin. But she kept walking, calm as stone, scars glowing under the lights like quiet warnings. Then a 4-star general stopped mid-speech and saluted her first. Wait, why would a general salute a maintenance officer? And what kind of war leaves wounds that silence a whole room? Lieutenant Naomi Briggs adjusted her clipboard and checked the manifest again. The hydraulic systems hadn't arrived. Of course they hadn't. The air around her was thick with jet fuel and doubt. Her forearms, wrapped in pale scars like quiet rivers of fire, caught the fluorescent lights above, drawing whispers from the new recruits lounging near the maintenance racks. Yo, did affirmative action forget to teach her how to duck? Private Cole Weston didn't whisper. Not really. Loud enough for his friends to hear. Loud enough for her to hear. Just not loud enough to get written up. The other young airmen chuckled, low and spineless. One of them looked up, saw her watching, and looked away like a child who'd touched something sharp. Naomi didn't react. She just moved to the next checklist, like she had for years. Silence wasn't surrender. It was survival. Across the bay, Chief Halverson, graying, sharp-eyed, the kind of man who remembered wars and faces, caught the moment. He said nothing. But when Naomi passed by, he gave a nod. Not the kind you give to someone beneath you, the kind you give to someone who's earned more than you'll ever understand. She barely returned the gesture. She didn't need allies, she needed peace. Yo, she got that 1,000-yard stare, Cole laughed. Bet she's seen some rough HR meetings. One of the younger techs beside him didn't laugh. You sure you want to keep pushing that, bro? Cole rolled his eyes. Man, she's just a maintenance LT, if she can't take a joke. Stand at attention when an officer passes, barked Staff Sergeant Riker from behind them. The boys stiffened up, but only halfway. The bare minimum. Naomi walked past them without a glance. But in that moment, Cole saw something strange in her eyes. Not rage, not shame, not even pain. Something colder. Something that saw him and dismissed him. It rattled him, but he didn't know why. Later, in the maintenance log room, Naomi cross-checked the intake reports, double-checked the part codes, and signed off on 3 repair orders with quiet efficiency. Every task executed with the precision of someone who didn't need to prove anything. The way she moved, no wasted motion, no hesitation, felt military, but not fresh from officer school military. Trained, hardened, experienced. Still, the jokes kept coming. That afternoon, inside the briefing room, Naomi sat 3 rows back, silent, as the base commander, Colonel Hewitt, outlined standard security and operations. The recruits whispered. Cole texted under the table. When Hewitt hesitated mid-sentence about a drone component failure, Naomi's voice cut through. Sir, reversing the manifold intake would drop the thermal signature by 30%. It was done on the Arcadia prototype. Design specs confirm it's compatible. The colonel blinked, then slowly nodded. You're right. I had forgotten that. Heads turned. Eyes widened. Cole's smirk faltered for the first time. His fingers stopped moving. Naomi said nothing else. She simply returned to her notes. But something invisible had shifted. A stillness in the air. A tension no one could name, yet. The next morning, the hangar floor buzzed with motion, but the air had changed. No one said it out loud, but eyes followed Lieutenant Naomi Briggs now. Whispers drifted not from ridicule, but confusion. Not one person could explain why a maintenance officer had corrected a colonel on classified stealth drone specs like she'd designed the aircraft herself. Cole Weston leaned against a supply crate, watching her with narrowed eyes. The quiet black woman with the scarred arms and the unreadable expression didn't fit the story he'd already told himself, and people like him didn't like being wrong. She probably memorized that blueprint from some diversity seminar, he muttered. Private Miller, one of the newer airmen, didn't laugh. Or maybe she just knows her shit. Cole gave him a look. She's a black woman with scars and a clipboard. You think she's some kind of secret genius? Miller shrugged. You're the one who looks nervous. Across the bay, Naomi guided a younger technician through a diagnostic fault on the F-35's control board. Her tone calm, precise, never condescending. She moved like she wasn't teaching, like she was remembering. Her gloved hands traced systems with a kind of reverence, like each wire whispered a story. Chief Halverson watched her from the mezzanine, arms folded. He didn't interrupt. He just observed, like a man who knew a secret and was waiting to see who else figured it out. But the general stepped forward. "Colonel Briggs," he said, not lieutenant. "Didn't expect to find you buried under fluorescent lights and inventory sheets." You could feel it, a snap of invisible electricity through the room. Naomi didn't blink. "Operational security, sir." General Rayburn gave a soft, knowing smile. Then he did the unthinkable. He saluted her first. Cole's jaw hung open. It was a breach of every rank protocol. A general never saluted a subordinate, unless they weren't really a subordinate. General Rayburn's salute held the room hostage. You could hear the weight of it settle in the silence, boots shifting, chairs creaking, hearts beating louder than conversation. Even the computer monitors hummed quieter, as if the base itself had been stunned. Naomi returned the salute without flinching. "It's good to see you again, sir." The general's voice softened, but the edge never left it. "After what you did in Valdari, I thought they'd give you a desk in the Pentagon, not bury you under maintenance logs." "I asked for this post," Naomi said. Her tone made it clear. This wasn't open for debate, not even from him. Rayburn's eyes flicked to Colonel Hewitt, then back to her. "Still writing your own orders, I see." She offered nothing more. But something passed between them. Not warmth, not history. Something heavier. The weight of things never said out loud. Whispers rippled behind them like an aftershock. "Colonel? Wait, did he say Valdari? Who the hell is she?" And in the back, Cole Weston felt something tighten in his chest. His mind grasped for the easy labels he'd always relied on. She was the black woman with the scars, the quota officer, the quiet one, the joke. But none of them fit anymore. They cracked under the pressure of reality. He turned to Staff Sergeant Riker, who stood stone-faced, eyes fixed on Naomi. "Who is she really?" Cole asked, voice low. Riker didn't blink. "Someone you should have never underestimated." After the general's unexpected salute, the command center fell into a strange rhythm. Officers whispered behind closed doors. NCOs traded looks. Orders were followed faster, cleaner. And Naomi acted like none of it had happened. She returned to her post, logged parts, coordinated shipments, helped an overwhelmed junior technician fix a faulty navigation system. Not a single flicker of ego. No grand declarations. Just calm precision. Later that day, Cole was assigned to assist Naomi during systems inventory. He arrived 10 minutes early, standing stiff, clipboard clutched like a shield. She didn't look up when he entered. She just handed him a manifest sheet. "We'll start with Bay 14. Try to keep up." He followed in silence, scribbling notes, eyes darting to her arms, her posture, the way she moved. There was no wasted motion. Every step, every decision. Surgical. As they walked between crates and parts racks, he found the courage to speak. "Why this job?" he asked. "I mean, you could be anywhere." Naomi paused briefly. "You think maintenance is beneath someone with scars?" "No, I didn't say that." "You did. Just never out loud." Her words weren't angry. That made them worse. They reached a terminal. Naomi began scanning barcode logs. The silence dragged between them, taut as a wire. Then she said, "Peace isn't found in medals, or ranks, or parades. It's in the small things. Fixing what's broken. Helping others learn how." Cole looked down at his own sheet. "You don't talk much." Talking never made anyone listen. The terminal beeped softly. Naomi turned and walked to the next aisle. But something had shifted. That evening, the hallway outside the command center was quieter than usual. Cole stood alone, staring at the floor, hands in his pockets. His friends no longer joked the way they used to. Some had stopped making eye contact altogether. The confidence that once radiated from him like heat now flickered dimmer. Staff Sergeant Riker passed by, slowed, then stopped. "You get it now?" he asked. Cole didn't look up. I mocked a war hero. No, Riker said. You mocked a black woman in uniform, and assumed that was safe. 2 days later, Ravelin Air Base was humming with nervous energy. An unannounced visit from Northern Command had thrown the chain of command into silent panic. Documents were being reprinted, offices polished, and tech crews retasked from operations to optics. Everyone was scrubbing something: files, walls, their own reputations. Cole Weston was assigned to briefing room prep, moving chairs, aligning folders, the kind of grunt work he used to mock. Now he did it in silence, sweat on his neck and guilt in his spine. Across the room, Naomi Briggs entered like clockwork. Calm, unreadable, same posture, same scars half covered by rolled sleeves. But something in the room shifted with her presence now. A quiet correction. Officers who once ignored her now nodded. NCOs straightened a little when she passed. None of it was loud. But it was real. Cole kept his head down, arranging the last of the folders. His eyes followed her once, then dropped again. The shame sat heavy in his chest like metal. Behind him, someone muttered, "Scarface is back." He turned, fast. "Shut up." The tech who'd said it, young, new, unsure, blinked. "Dude, I was just kidding." Cole stepped closer. "You don't know what you're talking about. Don't make the same mistake I did." Silence. At that moment, the double doors burst open. "Attention on deck!" General Desmond Hart, Supreme Commander of the Northern Division, walked in. A wall of medals on his chest, shadowed by a phalanx of staff. The room snapped to attention like a wire had been pulled. Every breath froze. Naomi stood nearest to the terminal station. She didn't move. Didn't need to. She was already perfect. General Hart scanned the room with practiced authority. When his gaze fell on Naomi, his brow lifted slightly. He stepped forward, stopping just a foot from her. "I'll be damned," he murmured. "Briggs." Cole's heart stuttered. "Sir," Naomi replied evenly. The general tilted his head. "Didn't expect to find the Phantom working logistics." Whispers ignited. Phantom. The code name from the classified files. The one whispered about in special ops briefings like myth. The one credited with saving a full diplomatic envoy from execution during the siege of Valdari. The black woman standing right there. "She prefers to keep a low profile, sir," Colonel Hewitt offered. General Hart gave a short laugh. "Still does things her way, huh?" Then, again, a breach of every known protocol, he saluted her first. Clean, sharp, unmistakable. Officers exchanged stunned glances. One even mouthed, "What the hell?" Cole's hands clenched involuntarily. That sound, the slap of the general's palm against his brow, would live in his memory forever. It sounded like an apology he could never give. Naomi nodded, unshaken. "I'm where I need to be, sir." Hart looked around the room. "Y'all don't know what kind of legend you've got hiding in this bay. This woman has rewritten the ending of more operations than some of you have clearance to even read." The shame inside Cole twisted tighter. When the general left and the room exhaled, the silence felt heavier than any noise. Naomi went back to her desk, as if nothing had happened, as if the air didn't still buzz from what they'd all just seen. Cole waited until the others filed out, then approached. "I didn't know," he said softly. She looked up, tired. "You weren't meant to. I was cruel, because you're black, because you were quiet, because I thought that made you small." Naomi didn't blink. "You were cruel, because it was easy." He lowered his head. "I'm sorry." For a long time, she didn't speak. Then she said, "Regret is a first step. Change is the next." He nodded slowly, not trusting himself to say more. Night fell heavy over Ravelin Base. The hangar, usually alive with echoing footsteps and tool clatter, had gone still. Only a few lights hummed above the maintenance bay, casting long shadows across the crates and unfinished work. Cole Weston stood alone by the diagnostics terminal, fingers tapping against a cold steel cart. His shift had ended, but he hadn't left. Something kept him there. Something between shame and a need to understand. He wasn't alone. On the far side of the hangar, Naomi Briggs knelt beside a flight panel pulled from a grounded Hawk drone. Her sleeves were rolled, her gloves off. The scars on her forearms glowed under the pale halogen light like quiet trophies, not of pain, but of survival. Cole approached slowly. "I can help," he said. Naomi didn't look up. "Why?" He swallowed. "Because I should have helped from the beginning." Still silence. Then she nodded once. Brief. "Get the calibration tool from the yellow kit." He moved quickly. For the next 20 minutes, they worked side by side. No jokes, no tension, no masks. Just two soldiers repairing a system that didn't care about race, gender, or rank, only precision. When the drone's console finally lit green, Cole exhaled. Naomi stood slowly, wiped her hands, then turned to him. "You ever seen someone die because of your delay?" she asked, quiet. "No, ma'am. I have. Twice. The second time, I carried what was left of him 3 miles through burning wreckage. Shrapnel had torn open both arms. I didn't drop him. I didn't scream. But I haven't lifted a cup of coffee since without shaking." Cole said nothing. His throat was tight. "I don't say that for sympathy," she continued. "I say it because every time you made a joke about my scars, I relived that moment. Not the pain, the weight he blinked. I didn't know. That's the danger," she said, eyes locking with his. "People like you don't need to know. You get to joke, doubt, dismiss, because you're safe. Your skin buys you silence. Mine buys me scrutiny." Cole looked away, ashamed. "I didn't see it that way. You didn't have to." For a moment, neither moved. The hum of the bay surrounded them like static, the unresolved frequency between them. Finally, Naomi spoke again. "Do you know why I came back here? To hide?" "To heal," she corrected. "This is where I started. Fixing things. I thought if I could fix engines, wires, hydraulics, maybe I could fix myself." "And did you?" She shook her head, faint smile ghosting across her face. "Number. But I fixed what mattered around me. That was enough." Cole nodded slowly. "I want to do better. I want to be someone who sees." Naomi studied him for a long second. "Then start by shutting up and listening." It wasn't cruel. It was a lifeline. At the far end of the bay, Chief Halverson entered, his boots echoing. He gave Naomi a long look, then turned to Cole. "You've got 2 choices, Weston," he said. "Be the reason someone stays silent, or the reason they speak." Cole didn't hesitate. "I want to be the reason someone speaks." Halverson nodded. "Then stop treating uniform color as equal to skin color. Start there." As the old chief turned and left, Naomi picked up her gloves and started walking. But this time, she paused at the exit, turned halfway back and said just loud enough, "Scars are maps, Weston. Stop mocking the journey just because you never walked it." Then she was gone. 2 weeks passed. The base didn't return to normal. It evolved. The way people moved around Naomi Briggs changed. Not in grand gestures, not with applause or medals, but in the small things. A pause in conversation when she entered the room. A door held open. A question asked with real weight behind it. Respect now flowed through channels where silence had once festered. But Naomi, she remained the same. Quiet, focused, unshaken. Cole Weston changed too. He stopped trying to impress. Stopped leading with bravado. He listened more. Watched more. When the new batch of recruits arrived, he didn't tell jokes. He handed out checklists, walked them through procedures, corrected them gently. When one of them asked if the quiet black lady ever did anything outside of checking boxes, Cole simply said, "You have no idea." That evening, he found Naomi alone in the equipment room, reviewing maintenance logs. The light above her desk flickered, half burnt, casting uneven shadows across her face. She didn't look up when he entered. "I'm not interrupting, am I?" he asked. "You usually are," she said, without looking. He smiled, but stayed respectful. "Can I say something?" She glanced up. Waited. "I want to thank you," he said, voice low. "Not just for whatever you did out there, wherever there was, but for staying here, for teaching, for not walking away when you could have." Naomi said nothing. Her expression softened only slightly. "You want to repay me, Weston?" He nodded. "Then don't forget." "Forget what?" "That leadership doesn't look like you. That quiet isn't weakness. That some of us didn't get to come back with whole bodies, but we still came back to serve." She stood, slid the log folder into her satchel. "And if someone else with my skin walks through this base one day, you speak before they have to." He swallowed the lump in his throat. "Yes, ma'am." As she turned to go, he hesitated. "Naomi." He stopped himself, correcting. "Lieutenant Briggs." She paused. "Do they know? The people out there? Do they know who you really are?" She shook her head. "They don't need to." And with that, she stepped into the hallway, vanishing into the same quiet she'd always worn like armor. But her absence didn't feel like silence anymore. It felt like legacy. The next morning, Cole walked into the hangar with something new in his stride. Not pride, not shame. Purpose. He nodded to Chief Halverson, greeted the junior techs by name, and stepped into his role like it finally belonged to him. He caught a glimpse of Naomi near Bay 12, explaining something to a new recruit. Her voice was calm, her gesture patient. The recruit asked something stupid, and Naomi didn't flinch. She explained again. That's who she was. Cole smiled quietly and kept walking. Later that week, another recruit, tall, red-haired, smirking too much, leaned toward his friend as Naomi walked by and muttered, "Who put her in charge?" Cole heard it. He turned without hesitation and stepped between them. That woman carried a bleeding soldier 3 miles with torn arms and no backup. She's bled more for this flag than most of us will ever understand. The smirk vanished. She's not in charge because of a badge, Cole finished. She's in charge because she earned it. The recruit backed down. Cole walked away. At the end of the day, Naomi rolled down her sleeves, her scars disappearing beneath the uniform again. No ceremony, no spotlight. Just another shift done. But in that quiet, something profound remained.